My name is Steele Stanwick, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber.
Sidearm whip, scores!
Now in front, Fidel scores! Ball Rabel, splits two and scores!
Carly Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Kelly, not shy, bounces one home! What a start!
Welcome to the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. I'm Hutton, he's Adam. Together we have all the latest news from all your favorite professional lacrosse leagues. Happy to have you guys for another episode of Pro Lacrosse Talk. Today's guest is Chesapeake Bayhawk attackman Steele Stanwick. Steele Stanwick is an 8-year member of the MLL, having played 6 years with the Machine and currently in his second season with the Bayhawks. Steele comes from one of the most well-known lacrosse families and is a native of Baltimore. Prior to the MLL, Steele attended UVA where he earned a 2011 National Championship and the 2011 Tewaaraton Award. Steele, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. Excited.
Steele, you're one of 8, and you and your siblings all played Division I lacrosse. This past season was the first time in 20 years there wasn't a Stanwick playing collegiate lacrosse. What has it been like growing up in a household where lacrosse was such a big part of your family?
Yeah, man, it was a ton of fun growing up. I mean, everybody was just so entrenched in the sport, and we were all each other's biggest fans, and it was just such a big part of our life, and I think it brought us, very close together, and it was pretty. It was a different spring not having anyone in college lacrosse, but I think it was a little bit less stressful for my parents, so. It was just a lot of fun. A lot of our best memories are either, on a lacrosse field with each other or watching each other in the backyard playing. So it was just a lot of fun and super competitive and, just a lot of great memories.
That's awesome. So kind of going to your UVA days, you had obviously a stellar career for the Cavs. So tell us kind of a little bit about why you picked UVA kind of initially and what it was like to play under Coach Thompson.
Yeah, I'd grown up and always, idolized guys like Doug Knight and Connor Gill and Mike Watson. And, as I got older and then, I was a big Ben Rubier and Danny Gladding guy. I just loved the way they played, and I just always loved the type of attacking that they had. And, it was just Charlottesville's a really special place, and you go down there and I just kind of fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the coaches and the players, and I just kind of got that special feeling, and I kind of knew it was the second I kind of stepped on campus, I kind of knew it was the place for me.
That's awesome.
It's great. And you mentioned that, you kind of just felt right being at UVA. You guys really capped off a magical run in your junior season in 2011, winning the national championship. And then you followed that up a few weeks later, winning the Tewaaraton trophy. But tell me what that national championship run was like, and then finally winning the Tewaaraton, which is considered the Heisman of lacrosse.
That award is very much a team award, and I think it was a product of us, having a great run there. But it was a very up and down season. We kind of limped into the playoffs there, and it was the ultimate, just kind of like we got hot at the right time and stayed together, and we didn't really freak out when things were kind of not going our way. And, we lost a couple of our good players to injuries and some suspensions and stuff and here and there, and we just were able to kind of right the ship. And, I credit Coach Sargent, Coach Van Arsdale, and Coach Walker a lot, kind of keeping us together. And, we had some great leadership from the seniors, and, it's just one of those things. We just kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and, it was one of my best, probably my favorite memory is being on the field after we won that national championship in Baltimore.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I was actually at that championship, and I just remember, too, the whole, like you said, the playoff run is you guys really weren't favored, and you went up against, a pretty solid Maryland team kind of as underdogs. So, it was a great run that you guys were able to put together.
I think we're something like we had the most losses and still won a championship, if that makes sense. I think we had like 5 or 6 losses and still won. I think that's the most losses ever to win, which is, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but we'll take it.
Yeah, I think that's just a testament to you guys' resilience, probably,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. But so you talked a little bit about Coach Van Arsdale and Coach Sargent, and kind of, I don't know if they had any kind of input into you becoming a coach now. Now you're assistant with the Hopkins women's program. Could you talk about how that kind of transition was from going to the men's game? Obviously, you're still playing to coaching the women's game, and kind of what was the impetus to move to the coaching side to the women's game?
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people who get into coaching had just really great experiences with their coaches growing up, and that was the case for me. I was just so impacted by Coach Sargent and Coach Van Arsdale, and really a lot of the coaches along the way. But I didn't necessarily think I was going to get into coaching, but I kind of fell into the women's game. I didn't like graduate from UVA and think, okay, I'm going to get into the women's game. I kind of just thought I'd play and just see what happens. And Janine Tucker's a family friend of ours, and she kind of just had reached out to me. And I actually played with Ryan at UVA, and now with the Bayhawks, Ryan Tucker, and so we were good friends with them. And she kind of just called me out of the blue, and what are you doing? And would you want to do this? And I from a distance was always very interested in the girls' game just because I have 4 sisters that played.
Sure.
So I felt I knew it a little bit more, or I guess, a little bit more than the average guy lacrosse player. So I kind of just dove head first into it. I was still playing and doing some camps and Under Armour and all that stuff. So I kind of fell into it. And then, fast forward 5.5 years, I'm still doing it and love it. And, it's a great game, and I think it's going in the right direction. I think the rule changes that they've made on the girls' side has really helped. It's helped the game, and I think it's going in the right direction. And it's just a really fun job for me, and I wake up excited to do it every day. And it's a great group of girls, and it's awesome. But I would credit Coach Starja and Coach Van. I think you have such a strong experience with those guys that you're kind of impacted to maybe give back and do something like that as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, it sounds like it's been going great for you. Do you see, being a head coach someday in your future?
I do. I when I got into it, I don't know if I thought I would stay in it long enough to be a head coach, but as I've gotten more into it, I do think I'm, that might be in my future, the right situation, right school, and all that good stuff. I do think that's down the line, maybe it might be a possibility for me.
So since you kind of have a foot in both the men's and women's game, how do you see the sport growing kind of in the next 10 years, especially since both the men's and women's games will be in the Olympics the next decade?
I'm not sure if it's still the fastest growing sport, but I know it was there for a while.
Sure.
And so, I think it's growing like crazy. Really, to see it out west, I feel like the boys game is growing really fast.
Yeah.
It's funny on the girls. I think it's more of like down south. I feel like the lacrosse is really high down there. Down in like Georgia and Florida and things like that. But I just think all over the sport is just kind of getting, it's kind of exploding, and I think it's going to continue to grow on both sides. And it's a really exciting time to be in lacrosse. 2 professional leagues. You got a couple West Coast NLL teams, and I do think it's a little bit of a tipping point for the sport, but I think it's going in the right direction, and got a lot of people that are really excited about it, and it's an awesome time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a great time to be a fan of the game, and just to see it make such big strides, not only at the collegiate level, but the professional and international level. But let's talk a little bit traditional. You have a traditionally strung head, which I think is unique because not many people go with the traditional stringing. So I believe your dad was the one who initially strung your sticks. You just tell me a little bit about playing with that. I remember watching you in college, like the fakes that you could throw with a traditionally strung stick are unlike any other. So what advantages do you have, playing with that type of stringing?
Yeah, to be honest, it's really all I know. I grew up playing with it, and I never switched over to the mesh just because I really liked the way it was playing when I was younger, and just kind of kept it going through college. And it pretty much started. My dad. When my sisters were playing, when they were coming up, he didn't like the way, they were strung off the wall, from the factory, So
Sure.
He essentially would just restring them, and that's kind of how we got into it with the boys. He just kind of was like, all right, well, if I can string the girls, why don't I just string the boys? And at that time, my dad he never played, but he was watching guys, like club guys like Gary Gade and Dave Petremont, all those guys. Everybody was still kind of using traditional when he was kind of getting into the sport. So we just kind of kept with it, and it is a unique and I don't think many people played with it, but I always liked it. And yeah, I love the way it feels. The ball moves around a ton. I always felt like you could throw great stakes, and people tended to get freak out about the water with it and stuff like that, but frankly, I never experienced anything like that. I actually felt when it was wet, it played just as fine, if not better. So yeah, it's fun. I think it added it made us a little bit more unique, I think, playing with that stick. But
Sure.
it definitely got a little bit more attention as the boys kind of came through, and And I think with that championship run and being on TV so much with it, I think more people kind of took notice to it. All the old-timer coaches love it. Every time I even got all the Bayhawk coaches when I walk through, they're like, "Oh, let me see that thing," and they love grabbing a throw with it, and I think it adds a little vintage. It brings guys back a little bit.
That's awesome. I'm sure Coach Cottle loves it.
Coach Cottle, Coach Mariano, all those guys, they love the traditional look.
Yeah, that's awesome. So going to the MLL a little bit, you're in your second season with the Bayhawks now after a couple with the Machine. So as a Baltimore native, what has it been like playing so close to home?
It was great. I think I had 5 or 6 great years out in Ohio, and I loved every second of it. Getting back to, I took a year off and then getting back to Annapolis and being local. It's great. You don't have to hop on a flight every weekend, and being able to drive down to a game and have your family and friends there. It's been a dream come true. I always kind of saw myself, maybe trying to pivot towards to being a local guy as I got older, and that's kind of exactly what happened. And it's a great franchise. Brendan Kelly, our owner, does an amazing job with the team, and then our coaching staff, led by Coach Cottle, just does an awesome job. And it's a great locker room, a young locker room, and it's been a great experience. Playing at Navy is one of the cooler venues in all of lacrosse. So it's just it's great for me. It's great for my family, and I'm really excited about it.
It's great. And you guys are really involved in the community as well. Tell me a little bit about, how the Bayhawks really impact, the community of Annapolis and, the surrounding areas as well.
The MLL in general, they dig their roots in at their city, and they do a great job of kind of activating, partnerships with local communities and businesses. And, it's great to be a part of. Anytime we can help out and get involved in the community, we do that. And the Bayhawks, being a local guy, I'm around more. I'm able to help out more with stuff like that. And, just this year, I've probably done more of that stuff than I ever have. And I love doing it. So it's great to be a part of an organization that's very determined and very willing to kind of get involved with their community and make it a better place.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you've recently scored your 100th point, which is an awesome mark, and you're on an attack line currently with another Tewaaraton winner in Lyle Thompson and another kind of Baltimore native in Colin Heacock. Each are pretty unique in your style of how you play. What has it been like to kind of develop chemistry with those two guys?
It's been awesome. Watching Lyle, I won't lie, it's pretty incredible on a daily basis to see the stuff that he does on the field. He's playing at such a high level. I don't know if there's anybody playing better lacrosse than him. He's a lot of fun to play with. I'm still learning the best ways and where to be when he has the ball and how to play off him a little bit. And it's just the attention that he gets from the other defenses is just, it's crazy. I've never been a part of a team where the defense is focused so much on one guy. And he's just a special player. So it's a lot of fun to play with him. He's a great guy, and a great teammate. And my favorite part about his game is probably the way he rides. He's an unbelievable rider, and it's really fun to kind of watch him go after the opposing team. And Heacock, we've been playing up at midfield and attack, and he's just such a big, strong dodger, and he's such a good teammate. And it's funny. I actually coached him at Boys Latin for a year when I first got out of college, and coached him for a year to see him kind of go through college and come to the pros, and now we're on the same attack. It's been a lot of fun to play with him, and he's a Baltimore guy, so it's a lot of fun. So in general, it's a great locker room, but I'm very lucky to be a part of an attack with those guys.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And I guess going off of that, you guys you're sitting at third in the standings right now, heading into the second half of the season. Where do you see this Bayhawks team going? Obviously you have your eyes on Denver, hopefully to win a championship. But how have you guys kind of come together and refocus going into the second half?
Yeah, I think the season's so long. I mean, we're halfway point now, pretty much. I think it's going to be the team that can make the most improvements and come together. And I think we're still trying to figure out things. Maybe what our best lineup is. Who goes where, and trying to build chemistry. But I think really in all aspects, I think we need to keep improving. And I think other teams are still trying to improve as well. So I think everybody's kind of on the same page there. But, I think just stay the course. I think these early season games, I think we're still trying to figure out who we are, but I think we're happy with where we are. We control our destiny going forward. We've got a lot of important games kind of coming up. Like I said, it's just, we're in good hands with our coaching staff and our ownership, and, they're going to put us in the right spots. We're just going to have to execute, build some chemistry, and see if we can kind of come together. And, it's all about kind of getting hot at the right time and see if we can kind of peak in September there and make a push for Denver.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, that kind of wraps up our, main questions. Let's go into our 5 and 5. I'm going to ask you 5 lacrosse questions, and then I'm going to ask you 5 life questions. But to start, number 1, what are some pregame superstitions or routines you have?
Pregame superstitions. I used to have some, and now I don't really have any. I usually just try and find a corner and try and calm myself down a little bit and keep my thoughts to myself. And I'm pretty vanilla with that stuff. I just kind of just go with the flow, and I do like to just make sure I get on the wall a little bit before every game. But other than that, for the most part, it's just trying to stretch and get ready and get your mind in a good place.
No, that's awesome. Number 2, what is your favorite lacrosse memory?
Favorite memory would probably have to be winning the 2011 championship with at UVA in Baltimore at Raven Stadium is probably my favorite memory.
That's great. Which of your MLL teammates do you find the funniest?
Funniest kid on our team is Heacock, Colin Heacock. He's just a big, strong goofball.
Is he like a one-liner type of guy, or?
Yeah, he's just a one-liner. He's just like I can't explain. He's just a little bit of a one-liner. He's just a little bit of a one-liner. He's just like goofy. I can't really explain.
That's awesome. All right, number 4, who's somebody in the lacrosse community that you admire or look up to, whether it's a coach, teammate, opponent, or even family member?
I'm going to go with my teammate Brian Phipps, just for all he does for Annapolis Lacrosse. He's the coach at Spalding. He's very involved in the community. He's got a long history of Phipps in Annapolis. He's leading the All-Star Game clinic before the game this weekend.
Okay.
He kind of does a lot, and I'd say Brian Phipps.
As a goalie, I appreciate the goalie love.
There you go.
Number 5, what is your current lacrosse setup? I know we talked about, the traditionally strung head, but, what type of head are you using and what shaft are you using?
I've been using the same head for a couple of years now. I don't even know what it is. I think it's an Evo X, maybe. I don't ask my dad to string that many, and they last long, so I think I got that strung up probably like 3 years ago, and I'm still using it. I think I have an Evo X on my game stick with like a diamond, like a Warrior diamond shaft or something. I'm not really a gear guy. I don't really know what I'm using half the time. And then on my backup, I have some type of evolution, but it's like a little narrower. I don't know what it is, and I think it's the same type of shaft. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little boring with the gears.
No, it's not a problem at all. It's funny too that we were just had Tom Schreiber on last week, and we were going into a bit of a debate too whether it's some people say Evo and some people say Evo, and obviously it's short for evolution, but I've heard like both ways. I usually say Evo, but it's kind of funny like just within the lacrosse community here and like who says what.
I don't even know. What did I just say?
You said Evo, which a lot of people do
Makes
say.
sense.
Yeah, and because it is short for evolution. But I've also heard Evo too.
Again, I don't even pay enough attention to that stuff to even know what I do. Tommy's pretty low maintenance like me too. I bet he's kind of just like me. He's like, just give me the gear and I'm going to go play with it.
Yeah, he was the same way.
Yeah, plain white stock. Tommy and I used to be roommates out in Ohio, so we were both very low maintenance with that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, he was awesome. He was funny. He was just telling us how he's like a old school diner guy. Like he'll just go to diners, kind of chill out, have some coffee black or whatever. Like really simple guy, but he just loves the game of lacrosse.
Yeah, he's a coach's son. He's a tough blue collar kid. Yeah, just a great guy.
We'll go into kind of the non-related lacrosse questions, and the first one I like to ask is going back to your UVA days. What was your favorite class while you were at Charlottesville? Another tough one, right?
Yeah, favorite class at UVA. So I was a history major. I minored in politics. I took a class I mean, I loved all. I'm a history. I'm like a history, a little bit of a nerd. So I like all the history stuff and the politics stuff. I was into as well. But I wouldn't say like any one of those was like my favorite. We took a class. All the older guys used to tell us to take it. It's called Learn to Groove. It was a bongos class, and so we took a bongos class. It wasn't full credit. It was only like 2 credits. It wasn't a full 3. But I got to learn how to do like a couple beats, and I took it with a bunch of buddies my senior year, in our senior year spring, and our professor was really cool, and so he taught us a bunch of stuff. So that was probably the most enjoyable, the one class I was a little bit excited to go to. Everything else was a little bit more stressful in trying to just get a good grade. But I would say, our bongos Learn to Groove class.
That's awesome. So kind of on the side, obviously most people know you from the lacrosse aspect, but when you're not playing lacrosse, any activities or hobbies? You just mentioned obviously you really like history. Anything that you like to do other than lacrosse when you're off the field?
I got the golf bug right now. I'm playing a lot of golf. I took it up probably 2 years ago now, and I'm still kind of hooked on it. So I try and get out, as often as I can whenever we're not traveling or recruiting on the weekends or things like that. But if I can get out, I try and get out with a couple buddies. And, I love golf. I love to play ping pong, even though I don't play it as often anymore. But my like hidden talent is ping pong. I'm actually a very good ping pong player. I grew up playing with all my brothers in our basement. We would just have battles down in the basement. And, that's about it. Other than just kind of like biking through restaurants in Baltimore with my wife. That's pretty much what I do. Okay,
that works. Well, that might kind of lead into the next question, but what is your favorite thing to do while you're at home in Bmore?
Yeah, I would probably hit on that. We like I live in Canton, which is like right in, off the neighborhood in downtown Baltimore, and I just love kind of like a nice flow neighborhood, and we love just kind of biking on the water and going to restaurants and kind of hanging out. I would say that's probably our favorite thing to do in Baltimore.
Any particular? I live in Towson, so any particular spots in Canton?
Oh yeah, you would know. So we love Nacho Mamas. So we love going to Nacho Mamas. They actually have one in Towson now. And
I frequent that.
Yeah, so we love the nachos down on Canton Square, and we like going to the Bo Brooks Tiki hut down in Canton. Anywhere on the water, there's a couple of cool spots down there. But I would say our fan favorite is Nacho Mamas.
There you go. And then kind of going off of that, you just talked about, you're kind of leading all the questions perfectly actually, but we like to ask what's your favorite meal, and it sounds like you like to dine out, but do you like to dine in, take out, or cook at home?
Yeah, we love eating out. My like all-time favorite is like chicken parm. I do love a little chicken parm. Anytime it's on the menu, I usually get it. So I would probably say chicken parm.
There you go. And then last one, what's a book on your shelf that you've read recently or have been reading right now that you'd recommend to a friend or teammate?
I have been trying to finish. I can't do it. I just have not been able to. Like the last 2 months, Boys in the Boat, and it's a great book on a row team from the University of Washington that goes and wins gold in the 1936 Olympics, and it's just kind of the backstory, and I'm just kind of getting into it. I'm starting to get hooked. I'm like getting through all the depressing, sad parts and getting to the good stuff. But it's I think UVA actually read it as like their team book this year, and I had it on my shelf, and one of my family friends had mentioned it, so I just was like, all right, if UVA Lacrosse is doing this, and some of my friends are saying I got to read this, so I started to crack it, but it's taken me way too long to get through it.
Once you get through the depressing part of, no spoilers, but when like the one character's like whole family leaves them, that it's tough.
I know.
Oh man, I actually did the audio version of it. And it forced me to just listen to it, but it's awesome. Once you get through that part, it speeds up pretty quickly, and it's a good ending, obviously.
Yeah, I just got to. They just got picked as like the varsity folk crew at Washington.
Awesome.
So I'm starting to get into it. So hopefully I can finish it in the next couple of weeks here. So
there you go. That works.
So we'll see.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. But that kind of wraps up our 5 and 5. And then, Steele, we just have kind of one more question that we kind of like to ask at the end is, what advice do you have for a young player who's looking to play at the collegiate level and eventually maybe the pros?
it's easy or a cliche just to say like keep working or hard working. I would tell somebody who's trying to get really good is just put a lot of like purpose into your practice. Everybody says like practice and 10,000 hours and all that good stuff, and that is true. But at a certain point, I think you got to have like purposeful practice behind what you're doing. So, really put some time and thought into like what your position is and what you do on the field, and like what your training and your prep for what you do should kind of like directly correlate into what you're doing on the field. So, trying to break that down into a science or break it down into its smallest form, and then just get like really good at that. You just got to kind of fall in love with getting better and see if that passion can make it, and just kind of hope for the best. And that would probably be my advice to someone trying to make it to the next level.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think I heard, I'm not sure who said this, but, the saying is always like, practice makes perfect, but someone said that perfect practice makes perfect. You have to be intentional in your practice, and I think that's kind of what you said. So
Exactly.
Well, Steele, this has been great. We really appreciate, you taking time out of your day. I'm looking forward to watching you in the second half of the season with the Bayhawks. Yeah, thank you again.
All good, guys. Thanks for the call. I will. I'm sure we'll talk again at some point.
Sounds great. Thank you, Steele, so much. So that wraps up our interview with Steele Stanwick. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast, and tune in next week for Pro Lacrosse Talk.